everyone. Guess what phase 3 was today? It was an entire stream instead of just like a ping or a gif or something like that. So we have this beautiful view of the new night vision first up. And as you know, I like to try and, tell you guys about why I chose various clips. Aside from the obvious, because this is new, duh, it's in. There's also the fact that he goes to a few different locations during this. There's the forest, there's plains, and then there's human areas with like artificial light and stuff like that. So what I tried to do was catch him in a few different areas so we could better gauge how it looks in comparison to the prior night vision. I remember seeing and hearing about the fact that with the prior night vision, going into an open field was basically a black abyss. So I wanted to be sure, you can see the forest area, like right here, and you can see how the trees look, you can see the limits, you can see all that. And honestly, personally, at least to me, it looks a lot better than the prior night vision did. I quite like this one. You can still see, and it doesn't look, at least to me anyway, it's not a huge, strain to the eyes or anything. At least for me. Again, the eyes, not quite as special as some eyes. But it doesn't hurt for me to look at, which, thank goodness, because the prior one, while I'm not going to say it hurt, I never played on it, and I didn't like looking at it. It was ugly, and I just hated it. So for me, it was more of a, wow, I don't want to look at this, so I didn't even ever play it. I just watched videos a little bit, and I saw the pictures, and it was just ugly as sin. But this looks pretty nice. You can see the dino clearly, and it looks like you can kind of even see the color on things too, which is nice. Again, I'm pretty sure early on they mentioned stuff about color, and then color was completely cut from night vision, and etc, etc. Anyhow, the open fields are beautiful, lovely fields. You can actually see now. It's an absolute miracle. You can see the sky too, which kind of surprised me. I didn't expect to be able to see the sky at all. And while he never plays Pteranodon, judging by what we see here, we can assume Pteranodon can see when flying, instead of, again, being in a black abyss, unable to see anything at all ever. Because right now, looking at this, you can see pretty well. Like, it's not in-your-face darkness or anything, it's not squinting at the screen trying to see anything. You can see pretty well, and it looks nice. And then he toggles it off every now and again so you can see what it looks like without, and yeah, you can barely see jack squiddly squat. And then Punch shows up at some point, I assume about now. I'm not gonna time this up. But that way you guys can see what other dinos look like and how well you can see them, all that fun stuff. I mean, the important stuff you need for night vision. I mean, being able to see your enemies and teammates and all that's pretty darn important, I would say. Let's see, after that, I think he toggled it a few more times. And then after that was a beautiful, lovely, artificial lighting. Yay! I was honestly wondering what the artificial lights would look like with night vision, and it's nice to see them look, nice. You can see. It's nothing too super mega bright. I kind of worried they'd stick with how, the night vision prior, like Legacy and whatnot, how it's based off military goggles, where you get absolutely blinded if there's bright light all of a sudden. It looks fine. It looks soft. You can see it's there, but it's not gonna be like, oh, my eyes, I'm looking directly at the artificial sun, sort of thing. Which will remind me of when, on certain maps, I was playing an Ark, I'd be looking down, doing, like, mining or whatever, and I'd look up and the sun just happened to be there, and I'd just turn away from my screen like, oh, great, not again. It's way too bright. No, don't do that, man. Oh, yeah, and before I forget, again, it sounds like the night vision you're seeing here, it's gonna be in stress testing here soon, so probably well by the time this gets posted, depending on how fast/slow I manage to get this one out. It sounds like there's probably going to be videos, streams, all that fun stuff, so you guys will probably see the night vision well before this pops up, but hey, I'm gonna post it anyway. This was our phase 3, so I gotta work with it. But anyhow, so yeah, we'll probably be seeing a lot more of the night vision soon. You will be able to see how Pteranodon sees, all that fun stuff, but for now, this is what we were shown earlier, so this is what I have to show you right now. So you guys will be able to see all the rest of it later, but for now, this is what I've got, and enjoy the rest.
So, a couple of things before I boot this up, because number one, there are certain lights in here that are flickering like how they're meant to. But for those of you that are like, oh my eyes, you know, night vision was terrible. Well, we're about to have a lot of flickering lights occasionally, depending on where we are in a base. And it's not, in my opinion, a good type of flicker because we have anti-gamma on, so it has pretty harsh cutoffs.
Standard little, you know, seizure warning and all that I figured should probably be put in. I don't remember if I have a whole bunch of footage that... Well, no, actually, come to think of it, I don't remember if I saw any blinking lights when I was watching this, so I don't know if it's necessary, but kept it anyway, so you guys can hear it.
And then I'm gonna just break the neck of this little program that people are using. All the little reshade users might have to go the route with NVIDIA. Oh well, you've ruined it for everyone. Hope you're happy. That advantage is going in the toilet. Cause, ugh, I do not like the way these lights look.
Included for pretty obvious reasons. Anti-gamma stuff is going to come up a lot tonight. This was probably the first mention of it, or at least the first mention I remember seeing. So definitely wanted you guys to see that. And then following this is going to be a series of clips while he was running around as a human. A lot of it's going to get cut because it was a lot of just running around as a human, and you'll be seeing a lot of that throughout the thing anyway, with weather such as rain and fog. And this one was just plain running around as a human, so again, a lot of that part got cut. You'll be able to see other people probably have basically the whole thing. But mine's gonna focus a bit more on the stuff later on. When there's fog and stuff, I'm gonna show a lot more of that, because I know a lot of people are super hyped for weather, of course, but first of all, let's get through the lighting stuff. That was a lot of the first section, so let's just focus on that for a moment.
Wonder, you know, I'm gonna look up at the sky. Wonder if they can even see the stars and stuff. Because if you look up, you can see what the atmosphere lighting looks like, and when I start to look down, you can tell that the world is desperately trying to be lit there. But long story short, there's so much subtle detail in this scene, and it's beautiful when anti-gamma is turned off. But there's no detail in this. It's a stupid, crappy, soulless look that I'm stuck dealing with until I'm done stomping on the soul of gamma abusers. Look at this. Look at lights. Look how hard they have to cut off now. Because it's so important for light to not bleed because people suck. Unfortunate.
And, like I said, much more on the gamma abuse stuff. And you're going to be getting a lot more of it here soon. But this is one of the other ones that he mentioned early on, and so of course I'm going to include it anyway. You guys are going to want to hear, why does the lighting look like this? What is the thought process behind why it looks like this? All that fun stuff. So naturally, I've included what I can about all of this fun stuff, aside from the side grumbles and all that stuff. This is a little bit more, you know, substance whining rather than the other stuff, which was just, you know, grumbles. But yeah, so we get to see a little bit more human lighting and all that fun stuff. I have no idea how it looks like in the game now, but regardless, he's going through the process of why it looks like it does, so naturally, here it be.
You see, you should be able to see in here. Like, this is something all of you should be able to see, and you can't. And this is something that, like, it gives me the wrong type of horror game vibe. Hiya. There we go. Anyway. No, I'll give you an example. There's a game called Visage that does that, that gave me this same type of feeling, and Visage is a very popular horror game. But if you turn on hallway lights, the light proceeds to light up maybe 2.5 feet, and then just rapidly fades out. And I'm just like, that's not how lights should look at all. This is just dark for the sake of dark. You could have just had all the lights blown out save for one, but even then it's gonna light this hallway, but you know, whatever, it's fine. But this is excessive. There's no way. You're telling me a spotlight here is gonna just bleed out like that? No. No, that's ridiculous. That's silly.
Now, this part is something I greatly agree on when it comes to horror games. A lot of horror games do the same thing where, as he says, it's dark for the sake of being dark. You'll see it all the time in like the Phasmophobia clones and all that stuff, where you have a light on in a dining room and it lights about 3 feet around it, where you darn well know that whole dining room would have been lit up if it were, you know, an actual light. I want to say, what was it? Conrad Stevens, that ghost hunting game. That one handles light pretty good. When you turn on a light, it's pretty lit. Like, there's still a decent amount of cutoff, but for the most part, at least the last time I saw it, it's been a long time since I've been able to actually watch streams of it, but when I last saw it, it handled lighting pretty well. So when I heard him talking about that, I was pretty pleased to hear it, especially when the Isle's nighttime is constantly way darker than it normally should be, which to me is dark for the sake of being dark for the sake of being quote-unquote scary. I hate it when games make nighttime super duper uber dark when the moon is full and bright right over your head. Like, yeah, it's dark at night, but you do have the moon right there, you can see. And in this case, you're playing an animal, which is gonna see incredibly well, especially when there's a moon out. So it just... it's something that bugs me. And it bugs me in a lot of games. And I could probably go on for quite a while about it. I'm not going to. But this was one thing I did agree with. Yeah, I hate it when games are dark for the sake of being dark. And I do hope at some point the Isle veers away from that, because it's something that, I mean, it's not gonna tear me out of a game or anything entirely, it's not gonna break my immersion or anything, but it does, it's something in the back of your mind that bothers you. Like, it shouldn't be this dark, but it's this dark, because it gotta be spooky, I guess.
But yeah, you all can kind of see here, especially near this, near the tower and the right, you can see the fog having this wonderful light kind of that persists through it, but the landscape behind it is just completely boring Vanta black. Now mind you, I'm doing this against my will. I personally didn't want to show most of you, well, I didn't want to show any of this. But we might as well keep going, because you're probably going to be asking, but what are those in the trees? Punch, do you want to try and open the gate? I think it'd be really wonky if you tried to open it, but it's still neat.
I've already touched on the lights being, you know, not very lit so not going to talk about that here again. But here's a little bit more on him talking about, fog and stuff, and there's a lot of fog later, so don't you worry. But for now, there's a little itty-bitty fog effect there. And then he talks about the trees for some reason, don't know why. It's never followed up on. And then after that was pushing of the gate, which you'll be seeing right now. The Utah was able to push it open, didn't seem like the human was able to, but Utah be strong. And then after that, he was just talking about, oh, we know there's a Carno here, but you can hardly see it, sort of thing. There's gonna be a lot of showing how hard dinosaurs are to see when it comes to being a human, and you have this itty-bitty dinky flashlight. He'll see it in a much bigger scale later on, eventually, near the end. All the way near the end. But for now, he does it with Utah, and you'll see it a bit with Carno as well, probably right now. But most of what they were doing was basically playing hide and seek, or Punch would go hide somewhere as the Utah, and Dondi would try to find him as a human. Just to, again, show people, hey, humans aren't gonna be OP with their guns, it's super hard to see dinos, and that sort of thing. We know how they are. But anyhow, that was a lot of what was going on. Again, lighting stuff, and you're gonna hear a whole lot of it in just a moment.
This does a great example of like showing the world outside of the little gamma radius. So part of this comes from the old night vision being on here, but you can basically see where the game's trying to pop the world open. Hold on. I just pumped up the night brightness to kind of cut through this, so you can see what night should look like on Here's a Full Moon. The exception of all the shadows being super dark. So when you initially had the first iteration of night vision, and I was like, well, temporarily pump it up, it's because you didn't need this absolute ridiculous Terminator vision. Yeah, you can even see Punch out there. Punch, you're behind the rock. Can you, where your tail's at? Yeah, there you go. He's out there in the field, and you should be able to see that. It's a pretty night, That is, it was important for me for, if you go out on a vista or you're out in the plains. Here, look. You get to see the world. And then when you go into the jungle itself, pants getting hard. And I don't get to show that type of lighting right now. Which is why I said you all don't get to see the checkpoints or anything like that.
I really liked this one. The moon it's just right. I love it. I love how it looks. I love how bright it is. And, it's still dark, but you can see. This was what I was talking about earlier when I talked about, the moon's out. There's no light very little light pollution, I guess. There's some human areas, but it's not gonna be like in a big city where everything's lit and the sky is incredibly difficult to see. No, it's more like, it's a little closer to when you're out camping, and yeah, there's people who are gonna have cabins and whatnot that are lit, but it's not gonna be to the oppressive degree as if you're in a suburb or whatever, and everything's lit and there's street lights and all this other stuff. No, you can see the sky, and it's beautiful, and the stars are out, and I really like this one. But I just love I love the night sky in general. Even though I don't, in this game anyway, I don't do a whole lot in the nighttime. And in most games you can't, because they make it just super duper dark. I really, really love nighttime in games when you can actually see and stuff. And I love admiring it. At least back in Legacy, I would often turn off the night vision and just kind of stare up at the sky, and it had like the Aurora Borealis and all that fun stuff, and the skybox is beautiful this time of year, isn't it? That sort of thing. I really enjoyed it, so I liked seeing this little clip. It's obvious why I included it. He wasn't talking about, again, the effects of the lighting, why they did what they did, all that stuff. I don't have much more to say on that. It's very pretty. And I really like this part because of how pretty it was. So, I'll stop talking about how pretty it is and we'll go on to the next one, because this one is a little bit more, well, a little bit more of the nitty-gritty on the gamma stuff. You'll see.
Well, you're saying destroy gamma abusers, but there are certain features that come from some of these programs that people use that I can understand their desire, I can understand their use. However, other people are using it to destroy their fun. There's avenues that we can use that doesn't completely lock everything off from everyone, and then it turns into a, oh, guess what? You can't run any program when playing this game ever, which is not the route I want to take. So I am taking my time when it comes to dealing with them.
A little bit more on, again, the gamma stuff. He goes into detail about having some sort of plan in order to stop at least most of the abuse of it, how it's going to take time, all that sort of stuff. Honestly, not much more to say on that I haven't already been saying repeatedly. It's stuff he's been talking about. It's important to hear, especially to those who have been victim of some sort or another to the gamma abuse stuff. I don't play enough, I've never encountered it, but of course it's gonna be a little bit annoying, to end up against something that can see you wherever you are when you can't even see a bush at your feet because it's so dark. So yeah, no idea when, how, what, why, how it's gonna be dealt with, none of that, but they're aware of it, working on it, and in the meantime it sounds like there's this stuff you'll be seeing now. At least that was my understanding of it. Whether or not that's the full scope of what is being said here, you decide, but that's how I heard it. Sort of a just, yeah, we're working on it. And there it is. And then this little part included because, hey, who doesn't want to see more Pingu, right? There wasn't a whole lot shown, and there was no noise going on. Repeatedly, when Punch was teleporting, the dinosaur sounds and stuff would be cut off. Well, I should say completely gone. You'll see with a Rex later on, he tries to roar and it's completely muted, so it just looks like a yawn. That clip will be muted, so you'll, I guess, get to see its full effect that way. But anyhow, yeah, a little tiny Pingu showed up, so it was chosen because more Pingu.
Do you want to dump it on Foggy?
Oh,
and be like, here's the
list.
Yeah, go ahead. And then they can't talk about not seeing Fog anymore.
Do you want it on day or
Leave it on night for now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just casually start. Wait, hold on. Let me figure out where the hell I am. Oh, never mind. It's fine. It's getting dark. Ah.
Shadows are a bit weird at night with this.
Yeah. Welcome. Thanks, Auntie Gamma.
I don't think that's better.
And thus begins the weather saga. Obvious as to why it was included. He's explaining that there's gonna be fog. It's rolling in. It gets really dark. All that fun weather things. Switches to the we'll be right back screen shortly after this, so there's not too much in this area, but I tried to catch as much as I could when he was in pitch black. Because after this it switches to thunderstorm for a little while, and you'll see that in a hot moment.
Where you were. Go back to where. Don't move. Turn your flashlight off. That's just creepy. Oh, I just hate that. Oh god, dude. Could you imagine you just
Replace that silhouette with like a cannibal. Oh.
Yeah, you don't even need that for a camp. Just a bunch of people just standing there. Just no. I don't like it. Oh, the light shadows. It did it again. Yeah, I know. You're gonna be upset. I don't care.
I have a bit of trouble heaving this door open.
You can. Just keep pushing on it. It's a human door.
A little bit more on the lighting, and mostly stuff about storms. The biggest part of why this was included wasn't for the dialogue going on, it was more so you guys could hear the storm sounds in the background. When it started, you can hear the thunder, you can see the lightning, the rain, all that fun stuff. The rest of it's going to be muted because there's no reason to not have it be muted. But there's a decent amount more of him running around in the storm as a human, which I included because we don't currently have weather, and it's nice to see how it's gonna maybe look by the time it comes out. Like, again, it's probably gonna change for better or for worse quite a bit by the time we ever see it in our branch of the game. Voice crack. Anyway, in our branch of the game. But you get to see it, how it looks here right now, how it looks on the screen. You can see the lightning, the effects, all that fun stuff, how the lighting works, and all those cool things. He goes inside for a little bit. A lot of the inside up ahead I just cut because there's no real reason. We're mostly here for the weather, not the inner workings of human building. And to be honest, I don't even know if this building's in the game or not, because I haven't played it in a really long time and I never get to see the human buildings because I'm always working on the diet crap. So, yeah. Anyway, there's a little bit more of looking up at a light and how the rain looks. All that cool stuff. And then after that fun part is the fog. I really, really, really like how the fog looks. At least as of what they showed right here. I like how the fog looks. It'll be dark for a decent amount of time. And by decent, I mean a few seconds. And then it just lights up and you're able to see quite well. They walk around for a very, very long time, and I kept a good amount of it in. There were parts that I cut because either he was standing still for a really long time, or what have you. But it'll be the same with the rain stuff coming up again soon. But honestly, looking at it as it is now, it's the type of atmosphere I really like in games, just the way the fog looks, at least here, because again, usually by the time we get it, it looks different. For better or for worse. So at least for now, it looks really, really nice, and I enjoy how it looks. It's beautiful. And, I mean, atmosphere, and it gives more to it than just an endless sea of green, green, and more green. Like, they're still green, but now it's slightly filtered green, so it looks a little bit more interesting. Like, just overall, it has a nicer feel to it, you know? It's a little less, what's the word? Plain, I guess you could say. It just looks nicer overall. It has a nice feel to it. But this will play for quite some time, because, again, we don't know if it's going to look like this by the time it gets to us, and I'd like to see as many situations as possible. So in a forest, he's on a road for a while, so you can see how it looks from a certain distance. They never went to a plains area because they were trying to get to some sort of human building or something like that. So you never see that sort of location. But you get to see plenty of jungle and how it looks within the jungle, and to me it looks pretty nice. I enjoy it. There is one spot that's decently open. It's not quite plainsy, but it gives you a pretty darn good idea of what you could expect in a plains. He stands still on the road for a really long time, so again, it was cut a little bit, but I'm sure you guys don't want to see him just standing in one position for like 20 minutes. Just hanging out. I think he was trying to get punched to position a certain way for some sort of dramatic effect or whatever to show, hey, they're difficult to see and all that. But he just ended up staying in the same place for an incredibly long time, so skip. Back to rain hours. Yay! Lots of lightning in this one. There's a certain scene, I think it's at the very start of this clip, where lightning just lights up a portion of the jungle up ahead, and it just looked really, really nice. I always, again, like that sort of thing in games as well, where the lightning can help you see certain portions, at least for a little bit. Usually it's everywhere all at once, but every now and again it's a game like right here, where you only see a teeny bitty spot that's lit up. And I quite like it. It's very nice looking. And then our lovely friend the Rex shows up, included again for obvious reasons. Who doesn't want to see more of the Rex? The answer is probably quite a few of you, but it's in here anyway because there's a lot of Rex fans, and I know you guys are going to want to see him a little bit. I doubt he'll be in the game anytime soon unless it's as AI, which I think would be fantastic, but I doubt we're going to be getting that since we can't even get Dryo AI back yet. So I doubt we're going to be seeing Rex AI or anything like it anytime soon. However, we get to see a little bit of it here, and how it looks a little bit, how it moves a little bit. It's mostly in the darkness, and I'm not gammaing any of these because this was mostly a show of how you get to see everything. So I didn't use any gamma stuff in the After Effects here. As easy as it is, I didn't want to, you know, give the wrong impression.
So for anyone curious about what it looks like when an Apex just trots after a human, at a full sprint, I am very lightly faster than him. That's it. The T-Rex can basically just walk behind a person and be very confused. Yeah, that's trotting, that's not a run.
This is a run.
I don't even see you anymore, you're gonna have to come back. Just run by. Keep a flashlight out.
Another very obvious as to why it was included, Apex vs. human speed. And I don't know if by Apex he just means, you know, Rex specifically, or all Apexes. I assume they're gonna trot at different speeds, but that's what he said. I'm not gonna read further into it. This is what we were given. So Apex vs. human speed, Apex very, very fast because Lorge, big leggy go far, is what we're seeing. And as it should be, I just, in theory, you don't see a human outrunning something like that. It doesn't quite make sense in the brains, you know? Like, you think of an elephant charging at someone, and yes, this is different than an elephant, but this is a game, and this is the example I'm using. You think of something big, like an elephant. The fact that their legs just go so far, and they've got so much momentum behind them, and you just don't see a human being able to outrun something like that. And even if it were, say, a giant thing just walking slowly, like Attack on Titan or something like that, for example, the sheer length in which the leggy go forward would be enough to quickly catch up to something, just at a normal, casual pace. So, anyway, nice to see Rex go speed, human not so much. And the rest of it was a little glimpse of Rex, and then they left. Stream done. Over. Dunyan rings. All that fun stuff. So, closing thoughts on the stream overall. I liked it. Pretty good. It showed off quite a few things, as you can see. And even though there was a lot I cut, you know, running around during the storm or stuff like that, I kept a lot of the fog in, purely because the way fog works and the way it changes everything around it, and the fact that it wasn't nighttime anymore, it's a different feel to it, you know, so I tried to include as much of that as I could. A lot of other stuff got chopped around. We saw Pingu for a moment. That was cool. Rex was a nice surprise to see again. The big lovely boy. And of course, Night Vision, the star child of tonight. The Night Vision was, from what it sounds like, initially going to be the only thing they showed. But they were able to switch branches and all that, re-download, all that fun stuff. Within enough time that they did end up showing off all the rest of the stuff you got to see. So the weather, the human stuff, all those goodies. Stuff like that. And Pingu, again. But yeah, the night vision, I would say, would be the star in many ways. Well, I mean, the weather's great too, but the night vision, man, like, I love weather. Don't get me wrong, weather's one of my favorite parts. I loved it when it rained, especially because my hydration goes zoom. But it looks beautiful. I love weather, how it makes how just the ambient feel changes. Like when it rained in Legacy, it just had a whole different feel to it. And even in real life, I always liked the general feel, quote unquote, you get when it rains. Like, you look up at the sky, you look around, everything's different. Smells different, looks different. It's like a whole different game almost, you know? So I loved seeing weather, don't get me wrong. However, night vision will take up a majority of the gameplay, considering a majority of the game ends up being friggin' in the night. I swear almost every single time I log in, almost every single time I try to do anything, night. It just hits immediately. And I've already whined before how there was a session way back I did as Packy, shortly after the whole human thing. I played for friggin' 4 hours straight, and it was nighttime the entire time, and so I never got to see my adult Packy in the sunlight, and I was pretty bummed about that. But anyway, nighttime takes up a majority of the gameplay. And so you want the night vision to look good, so one, you can see, and two, you don't end up just logging out until it's daytime again, because no one likes doing that. I've personally never done it. There were times I would log out when the server got too full and AI stopped spawning, because me hungry, but me don't want to go running around and getting killed. So there were times where I'd log out to avoid game things, but the night actually wasn't one of them. I'd just hang out in a bush, tab out or something, and do something. Or, well, I wouldn't leave, I'd just tab out. I'd still be able to see and hear what was going on. But I wasn't actively doing much because night vision wasn't... I mean, even in Legacy, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. So I just didn't do it. Unless I was playing Dillo, of course, but that's a given. Dillo's gonna run around at night. But as for this, the night vision initially looked like absolute hot garbage. Now, at least in my eyes, I really like it. I enjoy how it looks. Hopefully no eyeballs are harmed in the making of this night vision. But at least for me, it looks like a massive improvement, and you can actually see in the planes. And I don't know about Pteranodon. Again, this video is probably gonna come out late, so by the time this comes out, the stress testers probably already have it. They probably already have streams and videos and stuff out. But at least right now, I assume Pteranodon can see. I don't know, because somehow in all of QA testing, no one seemed to notice that Pteranodon is blind when flying. But at least this time around, I would like to hope that maybe Pteranodon can, you know, not have to log out at night, because it becomes impossible to move. And then, of course, there was the plains that also became an endless abyss, and I don't even know about underwater. I heard mentions of underwater being funky, but I never personally saw it, so I don't know what it looked like. But anyhow, well, yeah, kind of think of it, we didn't see underwater either. Well, hopefully that looks fine too, but I guess we'll see. Anyhow, overall, good stream, lots of goodies in it, nice stuff, love to see it, all the praise. I did, again, like the mention of not wanting darkness for the sake of being dark, because that was one of my biggest concerns when it comes to this game, because just about all horror games love to do dark for the sake of being dark, where your big lantern only lights about 2 feet in front of you, because we can't have the scares otherwise, now can we? Oh boy. So we'll see if they actually end up doing anything about that, or if it remains advanced darkness for a question mark amount of time longer. Don't know. But yeah, I think that'll wrap it up here. I have talked plenty. Not quite as much as I did the last few times, but enough. Honestly, most of these were pretty self-explanatory, and yeah, there's not a whole much more I can add other than, yep, he's explaining what he's doing. Yeah, that's why it's here. That's why it's included. It's explaining what he's doing. Thumbs up. There we go. That is why it is here. Riveting. Claps in the distance. But yeah, anyhow, overall, again, stream good. It looked really nice. I really liked fog, I really liked the moon. I gushed over the moon plenty. You guys don't need to hear any more moon gushing. So, yeah. Have a good night, day, whatever time you guys end up seeing this. Have fun, enjoy your week, and goodbye!
Thank you.
Recorded JPEG's appearance. Me whenever a hot new dude comes out.
Do I look like I know what a JPEG is? I just want a picture of a goddamn hot dog.